Good morning. Welcome to the More Factor. I'm Frederick Groth, and this morning we're going to talk about committed. I enjoy helping people and coaching people to succeed in life, to become better in their lives through the teaching of success principles and life skills. So this morning we're going to touch on the topic of being committed or committed. And it's interesting that the meaning of this character trait refers to giving something to someone else, to giving in trust to, and to giving over to the power or authority of another. See, this is why in this day and age, I believe there's so much struggle about commitment. Because we're not willing to give our trust and our self-authority to another person. We got to get over this fact that I can do everything myself. It's not a fact. As a matter of fact, it's a lie. You cannot do everything yourself. Life was never meant for you to do everything yourself. To being a completely fulfilled and living at your highest potential human being, you are going to interact with many people, and you're going to have to be committed with many people. Life is not a solo act. Get it out of your head right now. Life is not a solo act. We've got marriages that are dropping like flies because people think it's a solo act. I mean, hello, it's a marriage. It's two people coming together as one person. They both have to concede their solo plans into a mutual plan. A marriage only works when two people are committed, when they give their power to another, when they give their power to each other. Well, I can never do that. Well, you know what? Your marriage is going to suck. I'll just be blatant, I'll be honest, and I'll say it to the point. We've got to learn to be committed, to trust each other, to talk, to communicate, to compliment, to praise, to be able to share our dreams and visions of the future, to be able to work together. We have to be committed. It is so important. This is one of the things that I talk about a lot, is commitment. You know, people are saying, well, you know, if they don't toe their end of the line, then it ain't going to work. Well, that is true. But their end of the line is not a 50% end of the line. Everyone in every relationship has to give 100%, or the relationship will not last indefinitely. In my book, I have a chapter, and in that chapter, I have a section on marriage relationships and how we need to learn to keep our commitment level to between 80 and 100% at all times on both sides of the marriage. It's not always going to be great. It's not always going to be happy and rosy. There's going to be hard times and good times and great times and love times and upset times and everything else in between. But if we can keep our commitment level up a bit above 80%, it will last. Commitment is so important. Commitment is so important. You know, we sign our name on documents now. Say, I'm committed to paying this bill off. No, you're not. When you commit to that, you're giving the power of your money to that person. That's what commitment means. And while I enjoy driving my truck, for the first few years, I've also have to enjoy giving the company $300 every 2 weeks. That's just the way it is. Unless I can come up with a lot of money on my own and pay the truck off in cash myself, I have to commit to paying a certain amount every 2 weeks. I have a great house. I have to commit to paying a certain amount every month or every 2 weeks, depending on the type of mortgage I have at the moment. Commitment. Now those are short-term commitments. And then we come to long-term commitments. Relationships, marriage, working. People are just unwilling to commit. Say, you know what? I'm willing to let you work with me. And we're going to be committed. We're going to give each other power to do this thing. That's why marriage vows are so important. You're giving your trust, you're giving your fidelity, you're giving your commitment, you're giving your power and authority to combine with somebody else for a lasting relationship. Commitment is very, very important. You know, I help out with the swim team in the summertime. I'm not a coach or anything, but I help out on the sidelines, and in the winter I'm a coach for hockey. And it's interesting to note how many parents will pay the large registration fees for these things and hardly ever require their children to show up. Swim team and hockey are competitive sports. It's not a summer program, folks, to just lollygag around. These are competitive things. And if you're going to pay hundreds of dollars for your children to participate in these competitive things, you're basically saying, I'm committed to bringing my children, or making sure they get there if I can't bring them myself. And we've got children who don't even show up 50% of the time. What are we teaching our kids, folks? We're teaching them that commitment means nothing. We're teaching them that when we make a vow, when we make a promise, when we write down a registration thing that we've said we're going to do this, it means nothing. That's what we're saying when we don't make them show up. We have got to change our world, and we do it by changing ourselves and changing our family. And if you want your children to grow up to be honest, respectable, committed people of society, then you have to teach them how to be committed. You have to show them that when you say something, you do it. When you agree to go to a certain thing, you finish it off. Stay committed. Letting children, I'm a teacher, a senpai in karate, underneath our sensei here in our town. And it amazes me every year around this time. We lose 3 or 4 kids every year. We've got 2-3 weeks left, and it's done for the year. But we don't teach our kids to be committed. As simple as something as going to a karate class. Get your next belt. If you don't want to come back, don't come back next year. But for goodness sake, stay committed for the full year. Most of the parents got their money paid. They just lose it. They just waste it because they're not committed. Well, I can continue on about being committed because it's one of my rants. And I'm also working on being committed. There's a few things in my life that, we're all struggling with some things. But I try my best to be loyal and committed to everything that I put my hand to. Doesn't always work, but I try my best. Let's make an agreement together here this morning. Let's be committed. Let's be conscious about the things in our lives that we agree to. Instead of just blankly signing our name to pieces of paper just because we want something for the moment, think about the long-term commitments, the payment plans, the scheduling, the going to practices, all these things. You've got to take this in account. And if you can't commit to being there 80% of the time, it's probably not a good idea to even commit to it in the first place. Let's agree this morning to be committed. And in the comments below, I want you to write down 3 things that you are committed to and that you will stay committed to. I'm Frederick Groth, and this has been another episode of The More Factor. We'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you, and have an awesome, committed day.